Distinguished members of the press, distinguished guests, today we are hosting a very important guest in Istanbul, my distinguished friend and brother, Foreign Minister of Iran, Mr. Abbas Araqchi, is visiting our country, and I would like to express my pleasure in hosting him and the accompanying delegation in our country. As you know, last November I paid a visit to Tehran, and following that, both in relation to the bilateral relations and regional developments as issues have arisen, we have been in constant contact. So we might need to have actually contacts every 2 days because of the developments in the region. With my distinguished brother, we talked about very important developments. Many bilateral and regional issues were deliberated upon. The stability and security of our region is amongst the priorities of our foreign policy, and we do defend that regional resolutions should be found for regional problems. This is something that we have always defended, both in the Middle East, the Balkans, and Southern Caucasus. This is the main principle that we follow in our foreign policy. Within this framework, the peace and welfare of our neighbor, Iran, is important both for us as well as for our region. We closely follow the developments that are taking place in Iran, and we are deeply sorry for the loss of lives during the protests, and we would like to share our condolences to the people of Iran, and once again I shared my condolences with my distinguished friend. The fact that events have calmed down is important, and we do believe that calm should prevail. The internal issues of Iran should be resolved peacefully by the people of Iran with no external intervention. On the other hand, we have started seeing that PKK terrorist organization have tried to benefit from the recent developments, and this is showing that PKK PJAK terrorist organization is not just a threat for Turkey but also for Iran. And we should actually jointly fight against the PKK. Once again, I would like to remind of this fact. Distinguished members of the press, the nuclear negotiations between Iran and USA should restart in a constructive basis, which is crucial for the reducing of the regional tension. The negotiations should also be an important opportunity for the lifting of sanctions against Iran, and it is going to open a path for integration of Iran with the international economic system. These steps are also going to bring important advantages to all parties. At the current status quo, the normalization of the relations on the basis of a new basis is really important. Starting from the president himself, we have been always sharing with our counterparts that we are against a military intervention against Iran. Our president also talked with President Pezeshkian this morning via phone, and we would like to repeat once again, resorting to military alternatives for the resolution of the problems is something that we are against, and we do believe that this is not going to work. We support and defend negotiations and diplomacy. What we have experienced in Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan and Gaza is still fresh in our memories. While we're trying to address the wounds of the past, opening up a new wound in our region is not going to bring any benefit to anybody. We do see that the countries of the region want peace, stability, and welfare. And we are calling the parties to the negotiation table within this context. Once this negotiation table is set, taking the problems separately from each other is going to make it possible to reach a resolution much more easily. During our deliberations today, I personally conveyed all these messages to my distinguished brother Araqchi, and I have also repeated that Turkey is ready to support for any peaceful resolution to the problems. On the other hand, we also are seeing Israel is trying to convince the USA to a military attack against Iran, and such efforts of Israel is having a huge potential of actually damaging the fragile stability of our region. And we do hope hope that the U.S. administration is not going to give an opportunity to this, and we hope that common sense will prevail. Israel should actually end the policies for destabilizing our region. Distinguished members of the press, we also talked about the recent developments pertaining to Gaza. The urgent issue is to stop the pain of our brothers in Gaza so that they can look to the future in a hopeful manner. We have now started the implementation of the second phase of the Gaza peace plan. Attaining ceasefire was something that we seriously contributed to as Turkey, and in this process we will be actively involved. We are taking place in the mechanisms of the Board of Peace, and I have also been participating in the Gaza Executive Board to support the activities of the National Committee for the Administration of Gaza and High Representative Office. The main target in Gaza is clear. Gaza should be ruled and governed by the people of Gaza. The borders of Gaza should not be changed. Gaza should be rebuilt, and it should take into consideration the needs of the people of Gaza, taking into consideration their needs for the future. As Turkey, on the basis of these principles, we are taking responsibility and we are undertaking initiatives. Distinguished members of the press, amongst the items of the agenda, we also talked about Syria. The territorial integrity and unity of Syria is important, and we will stand against any effort that is going to target this territorial integrity and unity. On the 24th of January, there is an extended and to clashes, and we have also seen that there is an agreement about integration. This message was received by us overnight. Of course, we are closely following the developments. A real integration is to the benefit of Syria, and of course the parties know the conditions of this. The detainees and prisoners should be transferred to Iraq, and this is of vital importance. On the other hand, in Iraq, which is our joint neighbor, we are also closely following the process of establishing the new government following the elections for the parliament. With my distinguished counterpart, we also talked about the security and stability of Iraq, and we underlined the importance of this for our countries and for the region. And we have a will and determination to work closely with the new Iraqi government. Distinguished members of the press, Turkey and Iran are two important actors of the current geography that we are existing in. And in this framework, the continuation of the contacts is not just important for our bilateral relations, but for also the regional security and welfare. I would like to thank my distinguished friend, Foreign Minister Araqchi, for this visit and for his contributions. And following this visit, our president is also going to receive Foreign Minister Araqchi. And once again, I would like to say welcome to our country and to Istanbul. The floor is yours, Mr. Minister. In the name of God, the merciful and the beneficiary, I would like to greet all of the members of the press, and first and foremost, I would like to thank distinguished brother, Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, for inviting me and for his hospitality and the warm interest that he has extended to me and to the accompanying delegation. We had very productive negotiations. We talked about various different topics, about various challenges, had exchanges of opinion both in relation to bilateral relations, regional issues, and international issues. Iran and Turkey are both neighbors and friends. And in dire days and in good days, we have always sided with each other. The relations between the two countries throughout history have always been brotherly and in a friendly manner, especially in the recent times when the Zionist regime attacked the rights of the Iranian people, and also during the recent terrorist attacks that we experienced in January. Apart from outside our country, this was actually governed and managed by the Israeli forces. The Turkish authorities have always sided with us, and they have always supported us, expressing their very valuable opinion indeed. And likewise, in this manner, on behalf of the Iranian government, I would like to thank the whole country, the government of Turkey, to the president, and to Minister Hakan Fidan. And I would also like to thank my counterpart for expressing his wishes for condolences on the lives lost during these events in Iran. We agree as both countries, both the events that are taking place in our region that are actually because of the illegitimate interventions of some outside forces. Israel regime is actually implementing some conspiracy theories and is trying to weaken the countries of the region so that there is a warfare so that they can reach their own wishes and targets. We agree with my counterpart. The Zionist regime has the intention of creating a war which is never ending, and they want to manage and govern the whole region. This is a very important threat, and this is something which all the countries of the region see clearly. In order to fight against this common threat, unfortunately, they are receiving the unlimited support of the American government, and some Western countries are also supporting them. And vis-a-vis this attack, the countries of the region and Islamic countries should be more careful. When we had deliberations with my distinguished counterpart, Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, we talked about all the tension in our region and the destructive effect of this in our region. We believe that all the countries of the region and the safety of all these countries is the safety of the whole region. The fact that one country enters a war is going to create such a threat for the countries of all of our region, and it is going to disrupt the stability and security, and we're against all such interventions. And the plans of the Zionist regime should be what we are targeting of, and we will be welcome to participate in any countermeasures to these plans. To protect the national interest and also the regional security is our priority as Iran, and we never accept any dictation. And our previous experience has always shown that USA has never been loyal in the negotiations and has never shown any goodwill. But despite this, Iran is always ready to diplomatic processes that are based on common sense, on wisdom, on justice, taking into consideration our fundamental rights. The Islamic Republic of Iran once again is ready to sit down at the negotiation table pertaining to negotiation on nuclear arms. We never are in search of nuclear arms, and we never included this in our calculations for our own security and safety, and we have always defended that our nuclear initiatives have always been peaceful, and we are still at the same point, standing on the same position. Our nuclear activities have always been peaceful, and we never have been in search of nuclear arms. If these negotiations are based on mutual interest, mutual respect, and mutual trust, then we are ready to continue these negotiations. And if these negotiations are conducted in a just manner, with conscience, the Islamic Republic of Iran is always ready to participate in these negotiations and in this dialogue. To the government of Turkey, we do believe that their approach to find regional solutions to regional problems is the correct approach, and we are supporting this to protect the interest of our region. And we are always supporting any dialogue, any negotiation to establish peace amongst the countries of the region, so that the tension is reduced, so that stability is achieved, and we're always supporting all negotiations and would like to be a part of these negotiations. Regional ownership logic is the basis. With my distinguished friend and counterpart, Minister Hakan Fidan. We talked about Gaza, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, and the other problems. My counterpart has already mentioned our initiatives on this. We are supporting territorial integrity in Syria, and we want to see the end of the occupation of the Zionist regime. And we believe that the government should be established and strengthened with the participation of all units in Syria, all citizens of Syria. We want the stability and unity of Syria, and we believe that the stability of Syria is going to provide stability for the region. Likewise, in Iraq, in the recent elections, the wishes of the Iraqi people should be also taken into consideration. For a just election, the Iraqi people have participated with a high participation rate, and we would like to congratulate the Iraqi people for achieving this. And we are against any kind of oppression that is going to violate their choice. In relation to Lebanon, we believe that amongst all the groups, there has to be a national dialogue established. And the Lebanese security strategy doctrine, this should be the decision of the Lebanese people. We are also supporting the outcome of this dialogue, and whatever the result of that dialogue, we are siding with this. Also in Palestine and Gaza, we want the genocide to end as soon as possible, and humanitarian assistance to be provided to the people of Gaza. We would like to thank the Turkish government for their initiative in the establishment of peace in Gaza. They have really worked hard to achieve this. And also especially President Erdogan and Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan. We are grateful for their efforts because they have always exhibited a very constructive approach on this aspect. And we support any type of participation of Turkey, which is important for peace and stability of our region. And we are supporting their active participation in all these mechanisms. In relation to economic issues, we also had some deliberations. We discussed how we can overcome some economic problems. And because we have limited time, I'm not going to talk about them in detail, but I would like to suffice by saying both sides are supporting the strengthening of the economic relations. Once again, I would like to thank the officials of Turkey, starting from President Erdogan to the members of parliament, to the ministers, to the members of press, for supporting Islamic Republic of Iran, for their constructive attitude, and for their actions against the conspiracy theories of the Zionist regime and siding by Iran. I would also like to thank my distinguished brother Hakan Fidan, to the Turkish government for their hospitality, and thank you very much for your patience. We will now take questions. The first question will be by Al Jazeera. Should I stand up? I'm from Al Jazeera Arabia. I would like to ask a question to Foreign Minister Araqchi. There are some contradictions of the actions and the initiatives and the statements of USA. What I'm trying to say is, whilst the military vessels and airplanes are continuing to arrive to the region, we keep hearing statements that we're open to dialogue. We are also hearing some threats that the attack is imminent, and we are also hearing if the regime in Iran falls, we need to think carefully. We will have difficulty in protecting the bases in the region. How do you assess this as Iran? you have also clearly stated that there is a contradiction in the attitude and stance of USA, which is very clear to see, but there are some apparent facts. The first one is the military attack or military intervention is not an alternative. They did this last year in June, and this did not reach any result. And for that reason, once again, they started threatening us. And we still, and they're saying, on the other hand, they still want to negotiate. So while they're threatening us, they want to continue negotiations. In June, their efforts were in vain. And if they keep repeating this, and if they want to have the same experience, they will still face the same outcome, and they will not reach anywhere. In relation to negotiations, the American administration, through various intermediaries, asked for negotiations, and they keep repeating this request. But we do not have any problem pertaining to negotiations as the Islamic Republic of Iran. But you do not start negotiations with threat. First of all, they should leave aside their threat. And they should have a just and conscious approach to support. And they said that this should be a fair and equitable negotiation. If they want to negotiate with the fair and equitable understanding, Islamic Republic of Iran has never left diplomacy aside and is not going to do so. The second question from TRT World.
From TRT World, I would like to have one question for each ministers. Mr. Minister, you've been saying that Turkey is trying to facilitate between those two countries, Iran and the US, and you also mentioned that Turkish president has recently spoken with his Iranian counterpart. What concrete messages does Turkey is passing to all those capitals, and especially, as you mentioned, the compartmentalization of these issues? Are you guys getting a concrete response from especially Washington? And what if those diplomatical efforts doesn't solve any problems? What kind of precaution Turkey is taking to overcome the security issues of the region and, of course, its national security? And my question to Minister Araqchi is that coming from the latest lines from the European Union, actually, as far as we know, the European Union has designated the Revolutionary Guards as a terror organization. We would like to get your response on that, please. Thank you.
Start with you. I will reply later. در مورد تصمیم اتحادیه اروپا برای
The fact that the European Union has declared the Revolutionary Guards a terrorist organization, the only thing I can say is that Europe has some strategic errors, and I'm really sad. I'm just sad. This is actually a strategic mistake in their calculations and in some other aspects. Unfortunately, the European Union is and has become an organization that is on the fall. And in the international arena, they have lost their role and their important position as a player. And I do believe that they fail to see even their own interests clearly. If the Revolutionary Guards did not exist, they were going to be unable to fight against other terrorist organizations, and they were going to be fighting against other terrorist organizations on the streets of Europe. And they actually do not know the worth of something that has been done for them. And actually, the Revolutionary Guards saved the whole world from a large terrorist organization. European Union made a crucial error, and I believe that in the earliest opportunity they will become aware of their own error, and instead of acting sentimentally, they need to act more logically. The question that you have asked me coming to the answer of that question, as you know, our president has a very important principle pertaining to our foreign policy, which we have been following in a very determined manner, is to end the regional clashes and, if possible, avoid any new clash and war in the region. In Gaza, in Syria, in the war in Ukraine, in southern Caucasus, in all the clashes around our region, this has been the attitude that we have exhibited, because if clashes continue, this is going to create a basis for any kind of problem, for terrorism, for mass migration, and also for poverty. And this actually creates a period of intense instability. And likewise, an attack against Iran in June of last year, this was not something that we accepted. And of course, in light of these principles, any attack is something that we cannot accept. And we believe the only correct path is to work on dialogue, focusing on solutions. Of course, there are two parties. One is Iran, and my distinguished brother, who is a party to these negotiations. We have had extensive negotiations with him. We talked as to what could be the main points of negotiations. We have more or less an idea about the position of Iran. We have been closely following this. Of course, in relation to the main items of conflict between USA and Iran, our president is working very intensely, and I have been in constant contact with my distinguished brother. Of course, yesterday I had a long meeting with Steve Witkoff before I spoke with my distinguished brother, and I also contacted some other colleagues in the region. And of course, after this point, we will continue to contact the Americans, because there's a process while you're establishing an opinion. As you discuss, as you negotiate, there is an evolution of the topic, and as it evolves, you become aware of certain things, and this gives you an opportunity to take more concrete steps. Today, we also discussed some new perspectives with my distinguished brother. Of course, he is representing a system, a state, and there are certain limitations or certain directions that he is subject to. And of course, there's a similar system on the American side. And of course, taking into consideration these systems, I hope that we can find a solution, and our region is not going to experience a sudden outcome of a war in our region, or we will not see Iran isolated and resorted to some policies which is not adopted by the region. The resolution is not war. What needs to happen is to reach a resolution through peace. This is what we are striving and working for, and the countries of the region is supporting, and I hope we can advance our agenda in line with this. The third question is from the Iran state television. First of all, I would like to ask a question to Foreign Minister Araqchi. You indicated that your visit to Turkey was planned, and you said that it was planned prior, and you indicated that this was a reciprocal visit to the visit of Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan to Iran. But this visit is taking place in a period where the tension is escalating in our region. While you're looking at these tensions, how do you see the role of Turkey to reduce the tensions, and how do you assess their perspective? And my question to Foreign Minister Fidan is that the Zionist regime is the biggest threat to region, and Turkey knows this. As a Muslim country, Turkey developing regional cooperation vis-a-vis the other countries of the region, what kind of a program do you have, and what is going to take place in the coming days? Thank you. Actually, this visit was planned before, and as you have indicated that this was a reciprocal visit to the visit of Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan in November. We are, of course, always in constant contact, deliberations with Turkey. We have joint interests, joint concerns, both in line with our regional as well as bilateral relations. Therefore, we are in constant contact, visiting each other. Maybe last week we had telephone talks almost every night, and we really attach great importance to the opinion of our friends in Turkey and their recommendations and their proposals. And I believe that their proposals opening up this new diplomatic path is really important, and we are grateful for their assistance in such matters, because we are now in a very complex situation, and if need be, we can have more constant contact. Turkey is a friend of ours. They're our neighbors, and our neighbors are always the priority for us. In relation to the regional expansionism, you know our position. We believe that in our region, everybody should respect each other's border, their rights, their security, their stability, and we want to have a permanent system based on this. Of course, nation states is something that is being questioned, and we do not want this to be questioned in our region. So we are saying neither Turkish expansionism, Arab expansionism, just like we do not accept this. We do not want to see expansionism on the side of Israel, and especially on Palestine, the attacks of Israel to Iran and to Lebanon and to Qatar. This is a clear indication of their expansionist strategy in the region. And this is an evidence of their policy, and we want to see the end of this so that we come to a position where they respect the borders of the countries of the region, including Palestine, state of Palestine. The countries of the region have their own forces, they have their own determinism, and the time is the time to cooperate. Israel should abstain from their regional expansionist policies, and they should be a country in harmony with the countries of the region, recognizing the state of Palestine, which is good for them and also for the welfare and peace in our region. The fourth question from Wall Street Journal.
Minister Araqchi, do you have any specific plans, you or any other Iranian officials, to meet or speak with any American officials in the coming hours or days? And if so, where and when? If not, how will Iran avoid a war or a military clash that it says it wants to avoid? Thank you.
In relation to a possible meeting or talk with American officials, we do not have any plan or program. But what we want to see is we are ready for a just, a fair and equitable negotiation, and the preconditions of such a fair and equitable negotiation is still not yet fulfilled. About the type of negotiation, the venue of that, first of all, we need to see the preconditions and the preliminary talks about this. And of course, on this, we really had good discussions with my counterpart. We had extensive talks about this with my distinguished brother. We will continue to talk with all our friends in the region, and hopefully in the closest time we will reach a common framework so that we will have a fair, a conscious negotiation that is going to be starting in our region. In relation to the threats of America, we have repeatedly said this, and I would like to repeat once again. Islamic Republic of Iran, just like we're ready for negotiations, we're also ready for warfare. And we are even more ready. We are even more ready when compared with their attacks in June. And just like we responded to their interventions and attacks at that time, if there is anybody who would like to attack our country, we will have a strong response to this. And I believe that America, the United States of America, if they directly intervene in this, this is going to totally change the status quo compared with the previous attacks. And unfortunately, it might even surpass the boundaries of a bilateral war. And this is a specific character of warfare. And just like I have said previously, I hope that they will act with common sense and logic, and they will not force any party in our region to warfare. And I hope that they will not reach the same. Edat Türk'ün, my question is to Minister Araqchi. The U.S. press has been discussing for some time that if the negotiation table is set, there will be a series of requests from Iran from the Trump administration. This is about uranium enrichment. If that occurs, this is going to be taken outside the borders, and there will be certain limitations in the relations with the forces. If the negotiation table is set once again, what will be the approach of Iran to all these demands? It is very clear. Negotiation cannot be dictated or establishing preconditions. The outcome of the negotiation is identified on the negotiation table. It's not determined before you sit on that table. If one party is dictating their requests, then that stops being a negotiation, and the Islamic Republic of Iran is never going to sit in a negotiation table with threats. That is not called a negotiation, and we will not enter such a negotiation. And I would like to clearly say the following. Iran's missiles, defense systems have and will never be the subject of any negotiation. No country is going to put on the negotiation table their security and their defense. The security of the Iranian people is not of concern to anybody. And we believe that our defense skills, to what extent it is required to keep our country secured, we are going to keep that, and we will continue to strengthen this.